Morning. The Committee on Taxes will come to order. We have, as you know, we're presenting today we're presenting the governor's tax proposals, Senate File 726. And as you're all aware, we have quite a few testifiers. So a little housekeeping. Commissioner, the Department of Revenue and the Commissioner will present an overview of the bill. And then we will go to testifiers. The testifiers, most of you in here are experienced and well-heeled, so it'll be about 2.5 minutes. We don't want to be here until 11 or noon, and we don't want to come back tonight. So 2.5 minutes, give or take. You're all pros. I'm sure we'll be able to get through it. And when we had a quorum, we do have one amendment, but when we have a quorum, we'll take care of that business as well. So to start, Commissioner Bowerly, would you want to forward?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome to the committee, Commissioner Bowerly and Mr. Cummings. Please state your name for the record, and you may proceed with an overview of Senate File 726.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Cynthia Bowerly. I'm the Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Revenue. And this morning, Paul Cummings and I will be presenting an overview of the governor's tax bill that he announced a little bit earlier in the year. We appreciate the committee taking the time to hear the bill. Mr. Chairman and Senator Rest, we appreciate your authorship of the bill and carrying it on behalf of the governor. Just a little bit of context. The size of the governor's tax bill is in proportion to the rest of the budget that he released a little bit earlier. And one of the things that, as he has talked about, is important to our budgeting in Minnesota is maintaining our fiscal health. Our fiscal health has resulted in improved debt service ratings from credit rating agencies and has allowed the state to be able to make important investments that we need to continue to grow Minnesota's economy. And so just as a starting point, wanted to remind folks of where we've been with our past budget balances, and as we move forward in considering tax law changes for the year, considering the set of priorities that we have, and the governor's tax bill is a representation of his priorities with respect to taxes. The rest of his budget, of course, has been heard in other committees and will continue to be discussed. So today we're focusing just on the tax portion of it. We will go through the bill by provision, and we will do so quickly. We know there are a lot of other folks in the room who do want to testify, but I did just want to give sort of an overview of the three primary areas that are covered in the governor's tax bill. First, tax relief for Minnesota's families and farmers who face significant costs. Particularly farmers this year with low commodity prices are struggling. So these provisions that you see on this slide really address what's happening for Minnesota's families and farmers, including low-income families whose wages haven't kept pace with costs over the last decade or so. Partnering with local governments is an important part of the investments that are in the governor's tax bill, aids to local governments to provide essential services for their citizens and to cover some of the costs that are provided for in the buffer legislation and some of the out-of-home placements for Indian Child Welfare Act. And finally, there's a set of provisions that address leveling the playing field for Minnesota businesses. Some of these are in the form of some corporate tax reform proposals, some tobacco tax changes, modernizing our property tax for railroads, and the gross proceeds, a new gross proceeds tax for non-ferrous mining. And again, we will go through each of these, but I wanted just to set the context of those three main categories that we'll be looking at today. So first, tax relief for Minnesota families. And again, members, these provisions are in the order that are in the bill. The first is the Child Dependent Care Credit. This is a credit that's available in Minnesota, and the governor's proposal is to expand it so that a total. Thank you. This will expand the credit to many more families in Minnesota. And we have been hearing across the state from families across the state about the high cost of child care. Minnesota has some of the highest costs for child care in the nation. And this credit provides benefits to families. If you look at the chart, the governor's proposal is in blue, and so it significantly expands the amount that the families are eligible for in this credit, and also expands the income threshold at which the credit is available. Median incomes, vary across the state, and so we do want to make sure that we're really getting to all the middle-class families who tell us that they need help with this important expense. And of course, this helps families go to work.
Sure. Do you all have statistics on the demographics of who uses the dependent care credit geographically? Is it mostly in the metro area, or who takes this credit?
Thank you.
If you know.
Mr. Chair and Senator Rest, I don't have that with me today. It is generally spread across the state, but we can certainly provide that information.
I'd be interested in that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Rest. I would just, brings a point, members, I just ask that we can get through the testimony and then we'll ask questions. We may have some time at the end for it. Thank you. Continue, Commissioner Bowden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. The Working Family Credit is the next provision that really helps address the needs of Minnesota's families. This provision is the same that was carried in last year's tax bill. Senator Rest authored this bill. This is an expansion for families to be able to take the larger amount of the credit, a little bit lower income levels, and also expands the top income levels as well. So as you'll see on this chart, it does expand it, and this would be an example for married filers with 2 children. And what it will do is allow those families reaching up to $48,000 worth of income to be able to claim this credit for the first time. It also expands it importantly to filers who are 21 to 24-year-olds who are considered single adults. They may well have children in their lives, and so we think it's important that they have access to this credit as well to make sure that they can support their families in whatever form that they are. This is a really important tool. It's been one of the few tax credits that's been well studied and proven to reduce poverty, improve academic performance, and education and employment outcomes, both for children and the parents who are part of this program. It boosts employment because, of course, you do have to be working to be able to receive this credit. We know that there are others who will also testify about this provision, so we're happy to answer questions, but we'll move on at this point. There are a couple of other income and other state tax provisions. The military service credit increase, this provision was in the tax bill last year. As you may recall, in the supplemental budget bill, there was a provision passed to exclude the income for military pensions. This is a corollary to that kind of provision, which increases the cap on the credit from income levels from $40,000 to $60,000, so that more people with past military service can take advantage of this provision. There's a couple of updates in this section, the home office deduction, just to make sure that when people claim their property tax refund, they're claiming on the portion of their home that they use for their home and not the portion that they use for the office. And then the estate tax recapture provision. This would not impose the estate tax recapture if the land is taken for eminent domain and takes it out of tillable land for those purposes. So we wouldn't be asking those families to pay that estate tax if the government takes their land. This is a clarification to the change that was made a few years ago. The next provisions deal with property tax relief. As you all know, there was a buffer law passed in 2015 to require that land be put near public waters and drainage systems be put into buffers. This proposal helps those farmers transition that land, so it's a payment to the farmers directly. About 53,000 farmers will be able to, and landowners will be able to take advantage of this credit. It is about $40 per acre for each tillable acre, and this program would last for 5 years, really to provide a transition as people are putting that land into the buffer program. The committee may be aware that the state recently was able to get about $350 million from a USDA grant. The state will match that money, and that program will also be available to farmers who meet those components as well. So it will be possible for people to be able to be a part of both programs if they meet the eligibility criteria for both. Debt service equalization increase. This is an aid formula that exists in Minnesota, but has fallen well behind what schools need. Students in Minnesota need a world-class education no matter where they live and no matter what the property values in their school districts. And so the governor is proposing $62 million over 4 years to help these districts. Debt service equalization began in 1993, so this program has a long-standing history in Minnesota, has been restructured a couple of times, as aid formulas often are, but we think this is an important provision that will allow schools to have the ability to continue to build those school districts. And it's also, we'll get to the next provision, which deals with school building bond agricultural credit. Sorry, committee, not enough coffee this morning. But before we do, the next provision in your bill is the Ag Homestead Credit Modification. This is to deal with an issue that has been raised dealing with the credit for fractional homesteads and how that should be calculated. As you know, one of the jobs of the department is to ensure that property tax laws are being administered consistently across the state. And so this would clarify a uniform application of these agricultural homestead credits for properties across the state. Mr. Chair and members, the next provision is the school building bond agricultural credit. As you all have been hearing from maybe folks in your districts or conversations here at the Capitol, property taxes for farmers have increased dramatically over the last few years. High ag land values, as in the late 2000s, drove high prices for ag land, and although those property values are starting to show a leveling off and even a ticking down, it will take some time before that is translated into property tax reductions. And at the same time, schools are having a difficult time passing the referendums that they need to build great schools for their students. And that's due in part because so much of that school bond referendum is carried by agricultural land, is paid for by those agricultural lands. And so this proposal would reduce property tax on farmers by providing them with a credit of 40% of their property taxes attributable to that school bond levy. And the Cedar Citizen Property Tax Deferral, this is a program that is available already in Minnesota, but because of some of the confines of the statute, many people aren't able to take advantage of it. For example, when a senior might discover that they're going to have trouble paying their October property tax bill, they apply to the department to access the program, but the statutory deadline is July 1st, and so we need to defer them for a year until they can become a part of the program. We propose moving that to November 1st. In addition, we would shorten the occupancy requirements to sort of reflect more modern home occupancy rates. Many people do downsize after children leave homes, and this would allow more seniors to take part in this program. I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Cummings to describe the next section of the bill.
Mr. Cummings, welcome to the committee. Please
For the record, Mr. Chair and members, my name is Paul Cummings, and I'm the Tax Policy Manager at the Minnesota Department of Revenue. Mr. Chair, we appreciate the partnership we have with local units of government. The following recommendations are aimed at providing targeted aid to ensure the best possible outcomes for Minnesotans and reduce the pressure on property taxes. First is the Indian Child Welfare Act Aid, or ICWA. Prior to 1978, Indian children were placed in foster care at a nationwide rate of 10 to 20 times that of non-Indian children. These children often face lost connections with their families, extended families, tribes, and cultural heritage. The goal of ICWA is to ensure that Indian children remain with their parents whenever possible. The governor recommends an aid payment of $10 million annually that would be proportionally distributed based on the non-federal share of costs incurred by county social service agencies or correctional agencies for out-of-home placement, based on a 3-year average. This proposal also provides an annual aid payment to Indian tribes equal to $200,000 or 5% of the average federal reimbursement of out-of-home placement costs. This was funded in House File 848. For LG and CPA, the governor recommends increasing local government aid by $20 million per year and county program aid by $10 million per year. This proposal would be effective for aids payable in calendar year 18. Local government aid and county program aid are important tools in the state and local partnership. They help local governments pay for vital needs as such as local roads and public safety, and also help keep property taxes low. Wanted to move on to the riparian protection aid. This was also included in House File 848 from last year. During the 2015 legislative session, laws were enacted requiring riparian buffer land on public waters and drainage systems. Landowners with land on public waters are required to have buffers in place by November of 2017. Each county's aid is based on a number of factors, including the share of acres classified as agricultural, centerline miles of water courses, and public drainage ditches. These aid programs in partnership with local units of government help to lower the pressure on regressive property taxes. Governor Dayton and Lieutenant Governor Smith make strategic and targeted recommendations to assist local units of government in economic development. Mr. Chair, I wanted to talk a bit about the property tax exemption for the soccer stadium. The Governor and Lieutenant Governor recommend providing an exemption from property tax for the proposed soccer stadium in St. Paul. Providing a property tax exemption would make this stadium consistent with other major league stadiums in Minnesota. This exemption from state and local property taxes would apply to any properties with the primary purpose of providing a stadium for professional soccer. The site is currently exempt for property tax in its current use. Mr. Chair, the Governor Dayton and Lieutenant Governor Smith recommend $31,000 in additional aid to Madelia and $15,000 in aid to Watonwan County per year to mitigate the loss of property tax revenue due to the Madelia fire. These amounts are equal to the projected property taxes abated by the city and county due to the fire, and this additional aid would expire in 2037. Mr. Chair and members, I now want to describe some of the Governor and Lieutenant Governor's proposals related to tax fairness. The transfer of untaxed tobacco products in the state has substantially increased in the last few years. I want to be clear, Mr. Chair and members, we're not referring to cigarettes here when we're talking about these proposals. We're referring to what we call other tobacco products, or OTP, including loose tobacco, moist snuff, and cigars. To put a stop to this illegal activity, this proposal would enhance enforcement by increasing penalties on lawbreakers to ensure that honest businesses are not at a competitive disadvantage. In the past year, concerns about the level of compliance with tax laws related to tobacco seizures have grown. In 2014, Mr. Chair, 40% of retail inspections resulted in either a seizure or assessment related to the discovery of untaxed tobacco products. In these inspections, the Department of Revenue uncovered increasing evidence of tax evasion. Enhancing tobacco enforcement was one of the recommendations in the 2014 study of Minnesota's tobacco tax collection system. Governor Dayton and Lieutenant Governor Smith recommend enhancing penalties for noncompliance with tobacco laws, including suspension of the retail license and civil and criminal penalties. In addition, their proposal would establish a process whereby the Department of Revenue can revoke a retailer's cigarette or tobacco license, expanding invoice retention requirements for cigarette and tobacco products, increase license fees for cigarette and tobacco distributors and subjobbers, and provide the Department of Revenue greater authority to refuse or issue or renew a distributor or subjobber license. Several other states such as Iowa, Illinois, and Ohio have a tiered penalty system for retailers of tobacco products. In the past 2 years, we've reached out to the industry and sought their partnership on these proposals. In response to their feedback, we have removed our proposal to impose a state-based retail license requirement. We look forward to continuing to work with them. As it relates to vapor, Mr. Chair, Governor Dayton and Lieutenant Governor Smith's proposal would standardize how vapor products are taxed in Minnesota. Many products are currently taxed at the 95% OTP rate on the highly concentrated nicotine solution itself, rather than on the final sale of the final consumable product. Many times these are called open systems. Meanwhile, vapor products in our consumable form when they enter the state, many times they're called closed systems, are taxed by the same 95% rate, but on that higher value. This proposal would end that inequity by exempting the highly concentrated nicotine solution and applying the 95% tax rate when it is a finished consumable product. This would provide greater parity between open and closed systems. This taxing structure creates a proposal that is more consistent for all taxpayers. And finally, Mr. Chair, there is a proposal to impose tax stamps on moist snuff. The transfer of untaxed tobacco into Minnesota continues to be a problem. Current law makes compliance efforts very difficult. The most effective solution is to require stamps on other tobacco products, similar to stamps required on packages of cigarettes. Tax stamps would make it easier to tell if Minnesota taxes have been paid on other tobacco products, like moist snuff, and determine whether they came from, and to compare inventory at the retail inspector or a distributor location. It would also drive more business towards law-abiding distributors. While tax staff on moist snuff may have been difficult in the past, new advances in technology and machinery make this something possible. We are starting with moist snuff because it is in a more standardized package. Commissioner Bowerly will now describe Governor Dayton and Lieutenant Governor Smith other tax fairness provisions.
Commissioner Bowerly, could we hold on one moment? Let's just do this author's amendment, if you don't mind. Sure. Thank you. Members, I'm going to move Amendment A17. It's an author's amendment. Commissioner Bowerly or Mr. Cummings, would you care to explain said amendment?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, the amendment is just to try and get the bill in the order of what the budget pages were presented to you. So on lines 1.2 and 1.3, we're just updating references within the draft. And on line 1.4 and 1.5, we are creating an effective date for the installation of pre-written computer software that is consistent with the budget page, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Cummings. Members, any questions regarding the amendment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Adopted. Commissioner Bowerly, you may proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. The next set of the provisions that deal with fairness relate to a number of tax provisions that deal with corporate structures or other changes. So I'll go through each of them, and we're happy to provide additional depth on any of them that you like. The first one is dealing with economic substance. Economic substance is a doctrine by which revenue departments can look at a transaction where there is no purpose other than to avoid taxes. In Minnesota, we actually thought we had this doctrine available to us at common law until a Supreme Court case a number of years ago. Many other states and the federal government have the ability to look at these substance of transactions and not just their structure. So the proposal in the governor and lieutenant governor's tax bill would provide the department with that ability as well. The proposal extends and adds $10 million to the angel investment tax credit. It also makes some changes with respect to providing the credit to targeted groups, including veteran-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, businesses owned by people of color, and people with disabilities. This proposal has had a lot of support in the past from the legislature. The governor proposes adding some additional funding for 2018, and we look forward to continuing the conversation about the angel investment tax credit. The fiduciary automatic filing extension is a provision that will benefit businesses or fiduciary returns that are filed at the federal level. Under current Minnesota law, we don't extend our Minnesota filing deadline when that deadline has been extended by the federal governor, allowed at the federal level. And because this return starts with the federal return, we think it makes sense that that they aren't filed until we get that federal filing. And the result of this change would result in about a little bit less than $150,000 per year in a reduction in penalties. So it doesn't carry on the estimate, but it is carried in the budget as a reduction in penalties that would be faced by these organizations who file a fiduciary returns. The next provision would modify the definition of financial institution to include other types of entities, including partnerships and limited liability companies performing the activities of a financial institution. This would remove the advantage of transferring loans and interest income to an affiliated partnership or LLC that's not treated as a financial institution. This would reflect a more consistent way to pay taxes for these partnerships and LLCs based on their activities and not just on their entity structure. The next provision would accelerate the gain on sale of businesses to ensure that the appropriate tax would be paid. So for example, Mr. Chair and members, if I owned a company and sold it to Mr. Cummings and then structured that sale so I wouldn't be paid on that sale until 5 years later when I may have established residency in another state, the tax would be avoided under that kind of scenario. This would allow us to recognize the sale at the time that that sale actually took place and not just when it was paid. This doesn't prevent installment sales or other kinds of arrangements. It would just simply allow the department to take a look at a transaction that was clearly intended to avoid the taxes. The next provision makes a small change to the R&D credit. There's a lot of conversation about the R&D credit, and we look forward to continuing that with the committee. The governor, lieutenant's governor proposal came from department's experience with some of our customers who were claiming this credit and may not have had records from their base year, which could have been as far back as the 80s. So what this proposal would do was to allow companies to use a 16% base year when it no longer has those records. If it does have records to justify additional credit, that of course would be accepted. But we at the department had begun observing that there were many times that we had to simply deny the credit because they didn't have those records. So this would allow more companies to be able to access the R&D credit. The next provision deals with insurance companies, particularly non-admitted insurance companies that are sometimes combined in the unitary business return. This proposal addresses a gap in which businesses have been using to shift income previously subject to corporate tax to a qualifying insurance company member that is not subject to the tax. And this provision, again, addresses non-admitted insurance companies, so they're not selling directly policies to Minnesotans. This is just a tactic to be able to shift that income to a part of their organization that doesn't pay tax. The next provision would align how mutual fund manager income is apportioned. This and require all entities providing mutual fund management to apportion their income on a consistent manner based on where the mutual fund shareholders are located. Under current law, it depends on whether who manages the fund. For example, a mutual fund managed by a corporation, then the corporation apportions its income based on where the shareholders are located. But if it's another type of entity, such as a partnership or limited liability company that manages the mutual fund, then the income is apportioned based on where the mutual fund is located. So we want to avoid structures that, again, just exploit this inconsistency and treat them all the same. The next provision deals with dividend received deduction from debt finance stock. This would exclude the dividend received deduction from debt finance stocks when calculating the dividend received deduction. So it would remove an unintentional additional benefit to corporations when they debt finance their stock under current statute. When you debt finance through debt, you are also able to deduct the interest from that transaction, and when it's treated as a dividend received as well, it's a double benefit for that kind of type of transaction. So this would reduce the amount that's included in the dividend received deduction by the amount of the stock that is debt financed. The next provision also deals with the dividend received deduction, but addresses the foreign-sourced income. So if a corporation has owns an entity that is wholly controlled by a domestic corporation, but is located in a foreign location, that income is sometimes called Subpart F income. It is a federal provision that identifies certain types of income that is deemed as income before it is repatriated to the United States. Under Minnesota's current law, that type of income is treated as a dividend received deduction and eligible for 80% of that income to be treated as that deduction. So only 20% is subject to tax. There is no similar practice under federal law, and so this proposal would align Minnesota's law with the federal proposal with the treatment of this income. The next provision, Mr. Chairman, the final in this set, would match the premium rate for non-admitted surplus line policies purchased directly to the rate that those policies are purchased through a broker. For example, in Minnesota, this proposal would mean that approximately 35 taxpayers that directly procure their surplus lines policies would pay 3% instead of 2%, because approximately 1,600 taxpayers are currently subject to the 3% rate. So this proposal will align those two rates to be treated the same, whether they are purchased through a broker or directly. Mr. Chairman and members, I know there's a lot of detail there, and again, we are happy to go into further depth on any of these, but we'll continue at this point unless there are further questions.
Commissioner Bowerly, please continue.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. The next provision deals with property taxes for railroads. You have seen this provision before. We have proposed it to you, and the governor and lieutenant governor have included it again. The proposal is aimed at aligning Minnesota's assessment procedures and the type of property that is included for assessing rail property across Minnesota. This replaces obsolete calculations when valuing railroad property and allows for an updated method of that value. This proposal would impose tax on rolling stock, which is common in many other states. It would advance our system beyond, our evaluation system beyond some old standards, including something called the Wisconsin Blue Chip method that Wisconsin no longer even uses, really aims at getting us into some more modern assessment practice, all with the aim of reaching market value, and market value is what the statute tells the department its goal should be when reaching the value for these properties. This would result in additional revenue for the general fund and would also impact the local levies as well, because as you may know, the statewide property is allocated out to the portions of the local levies where it sits. Mr. Chairman, the governor and lieutenant governor's tax bill also provides an extension for the provider tax. As you may know, this is set to expire on January 1st of 2020. This is an important revenue stream for the Healthcare Access Fund and for all of the people and the providers who receive payments under that provision. This would provide provide stability going forward, and although this is a couple of years out, we think it's important that we set the path for stability for this kind of service, for the services and payments to the providers. And Mr. Chairman, members, the governor and lieutenant governor also propose expanding the exemption for charities. Under Minnesota law, just because someone may have an exemption at the federal level for purposes of sales tax in Minnesota, we take a further look at what that organization is doing and to determine whether the sales tax exemption applies for them based on their specific purchases and the purpose of their organization. This provision has been heard by this committee before, carried by Senator Rest. We think it's important that we bring some clarity to nonprofits. Frankly, we'll streamline their ability to do their work and the important work that charities are doing across the state and for communities. And so it would expand the sales tax exemption to all federally recognized charities. I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Cummings to continue providing the committee with the bill.
Mr. Chair and members.
Mr. Cummings.
I will now present Governor Dayton and Lieutenant Governor Smith's other recommended updates and corrections to Minnesota's tax code. I'll first direct the committee to the compressed natural gas definition, which was included in House File 848. This proposal updates Minnesota's definition of compressed natural gas by adopting the International Fuel Tax Agreement, IFTA, standard. This provides a simpler, easier to understand tax for businesses and is requested by the industry. Governor Dayton and Lieutenant Governor Smith's proposal would align the energy content of CNG with the industry standard, adopt the industry standard conversion rate for tax purposes, and reduce the fuel tax rate for CNG to keep it aligned with the current gasoline tax rates. For sales tax clarification, Governor Dayton and Lieutenant Governor Smith recommend three important clarifications in the sales tax code. The first proposal is the equal treatment of digital products. We thank Senator Rest for her leadership in this area. When digital products became taxable in 2013, the law was written to only tax specified digital products and does not include all products that are taxable in their tangible form. For some, this causes a non-parallel effect in the law that produces inequities between similar products that can be unclear for businesses and for taxpayers. There's also confusion amongst taxpayers as to why something is taxable when it is sold as tangible personal property, but it is not when it is sold as a digital product. Examples include finished artwork, still photographs, and copies of blueprints. Senator Rest's bill in 2013 already provides parallel taxation for e-books, digital music, and greeting cards. With changing technology, more and more tangible products are being sold in digital form. This provision will provide greater clarity. The second proposal deals with computer installation labor for pre-written software. Currently, terminology, timing of service delivery, and the timing of the billing make it difficult for businesses that are selling or purchasing these services because these sales include both taxable and non-taxable labor. For instance, consulting services related to pre-written software can both be taxable and non-taxable. Consulting services, that is customer support services, is non-taxable, while software installation labor is taxable. Keeping track of what is taxable and what is not taxable is complicated and can be confusing. Other taxpayers may change their billing to include more non-taxable services, and then we're left to determine if that was the correct designation. It's very difficult to separately state all of the items that go into the purchase of module-based computer software programs. This difficulty stems from the fact that different labor components of the purchase of the software, whether performed by the seller or third party, often happen simultaneously. This would treat the installation of pre-written computer software the same as installation of tangible personal property and services. The third proposal for the sales tax deals with burial containers. Minnesota law currently exempts caskets, vaults, and other containers, coverings, and linings for human burial. Over time, more taxpayers are renting or leasing caskets rather than purchasing them because the deceased will be cremated after the viewing or visitation. When the casket is being rented, it is not being used for human burial and therefore not exempt from tax. Governor Dayton and Lieutenant Governor Smith recommend extending the sales tax exemption for burial containers to include all caskets and alternative containers used for the viewing, transportation, or burial of a deceased human being. Senator Rest, you stopped me in the hall to ask whether urns that would be displayed would be taxable. Under current law, urns that would be displayed would be taxable. Under this proposal, they would be exempt. For the Minnesota State High School League, Governor Dayton and Lieutenant Governor Smith recommend providing an exemption for sales and use tax for admissions to postseason games, events, and activities sponsored by the Minnesota State High School League. The savings from this exemption must be used to promote high school extracurricular activities. The Minnesota State High School Leagues provides educational opportunities for students through interscholastic athletics and fine arts programs and provides leadership support for member schools. For Madelia, Mr. Chair, the Governor and Lieutenant Governor propose an exemption from the sales and use tax for building materials, equipment, and supplies used to construct or replace property in Madelia that was affected by the fire on February 3rd, 2016. Taxpayers must pay the tax on the purchases and then send a claim for the refund of tax. For the siding facility sales tax exemption, the Governor and Lieutenant Governor recommend providing a sales and use tax exemption on building materials and supplies used to build a siding production facility that can produce at least 400 million square feet of siding per year. This will provide jobs for a part of the state that has been hit hard by the global steel market. For motor vehicle leases, this provision was included in House File 848. Under current law, transportation and transit accounts are receiving all the funds from the 6.875 sales tax on motor vehicle leases, rather than 6.5. In addition, the Department of Revenue is directed to transfer .375 to legacy funds under the Constitution. This amounts to a transfer of 7.25% of funds when a sales tax of 6.875 is collected. The Governor and Lieutenant Governor recommend updating the statute so that the revenue from motor vehicle leases allocates 6.5% of sales to transportation and transit accounts and .375 to legacy accounts. Taxpayers would not be impacted by this change. This proposal fixes an error in Minnesota's budgeting system. And for the construction and demolition waste, this was a proposal that was also included in 848. For non-mixed municipal solid waste, construction and demolition waste, industrial waste, infectious and pathological waste is all taxed at 60 cents per yard. Yet they also provide an equivalency in statute for what would it be if it were measured by ton. The $2 per ton rate for construction and demolition waste has not changed in 20 years, and as waste hauling practices have changed, the tonnage for a yard of the construction and demolition waste has also changed. The Governor and Lieutenant Governor propose making the construction and demolition waste consistent with industrial waste and in line with other states' practices. It would increase simplicity. The Governor's proposal, to be clear, would not impact mixed waste, including garbage, refuse, or other solid waste from residential, commercial, and community activities. Mr. Chair, I wanted to move on to the proposal related to non-ferrous mining. The governor and lieutenant governor recommend replacing the net proceeds tax on non-ferrous mining with the gross proceeds tax at the rate of 2.75%. This tax would be imposed on the gross value of minerals sold by non-ferrous mining company. While not currently mined in Minnesota, non-ferrous minerals include copper, nickel, lead, zinc, and titanium, to name a few, and are not currently mined. If any of these materials were to be mined, the companies extracting them would be subject to the net proceeds tax. This tax is paid in lieu of property taxes, similar to how ferrous mining companies, for example, iron ore and taconite, pay the production tax. The current tax is determined by calculating net proceeds, which are the gross proceeds from non-ferrous mining minus expenses. This creates a situation in non-ferrous mines, particularly in the early years of production in a new mine, might not have any net proceeds. This result causes disparate treatment of this type of mining compared to ferrous mines that pay a production tax regardless of profitability, or to homeowners who pay a property tax regardless of their income. Active non-ferrous mines would not be subject to the property tax. The gross proceeds tax would be collected and distributed in the same way as the current net proceeds tax. The rate of 2.75% is intended to provide parity with the tax burden on ferrous mines. And finally, Mr. Chair, I wanted to go over one bit of targeted tax relief. Changes to the Sustainable Forest Act were initially discussed as a report by the Office of Legislative Auditor in November of 2013. Many of their recommendations are incorporated into this bill. It was important to acknowledge that the Sustainable Forest Act program provides economic and ecological benefits as well as tax cuts. This proposal updates and changes SFIA eligibility requirements, certifications, covenant length, calculation of the incentive payment, withdrawal procedures, transfer of ownership, definition of forest land and claimants, and other minor impacts. All of these recommendations are supported by Minnesota's forestry industry, and the legal summary provides a detailed account of the policy changes. In closing, Mr. Chair and members, Governor Dayton and Lieutenant Governor Smith support a balanced, common-sense approach to tax cuts that prioritizes economic opportunities for Minnesota families while protecting the state's long-term fiscal health. This year, Governor Dayton and Lieutenant Governor Smith have proposed cutting taxes for more than 450,000 Minnesotans to help build an economy that works for everyone, everywhere in Minnesota, and have recommended targeted and reasonable reforms to elements of our tax code that need to be updated to keep pace with changing practices of our economy. We look forward to working with you, Mr. Chair, throughout the session on developing a package for Minnesota families.
Thank you, Mr. Cummings. Commissioner Bauer, do you have any comments before we get to the testifiers?
No, Mr. Chairman, we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Okay, we'll take a couple of questions from members, and then we'll move to testifiers. Senator Gazelka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I wanted to address some things early just because I double booked for a little bit later, and I won't be able to be here for all the testimony. But first of all, thank you for presenting the budget, and I looked at some of the things that we have shared goals. One of them is that we are fiscally responsible, and how we get there may be a different path, but I think that is important. And some of the things that you guys want to work on, I see that I think eventually we'll find agreement. One that I'll point out is finding some ag property tax relief in some form I think is critical. A couple things that I'm going to dig deeper into, and one is why we have such high tobacco noncompliance. I think if we look at neighboring states, it may be that we're out of whack with them, that we have a higher number there that you feel like you need more enforcement. So I want to look into that one. And also, why are we among the highest child care costs in the nation? We have to take a look at that as well, because we want that to be affordable for folks. But as I look at the overall bill, one of the things I see is there is some true tax relief, but not a lot. And so we're going to be negotiating for more of that. I think it looks something like $57 million in 2018 and 19, and then more spending. And we have to work through that. We know what it takes to do a budget. There are areas that we want to spend money on too, and so how do we work through that? But I really want to take a look at tax relief and what do we do there. So as we move forward, I just want to commit that we're going to work with you. Just know some of the areas that we're going to try to push for. We want to convince the governor that some of these things that we'll present are very important too. One of those I want to highlight, I saw that under the corporate area, it looks like the net result is about 80 million more in tax increases. And one of my personal goals is that we get out of the top 5 worst tax states for business. So I don't mind if we're somewhere in the middle, but, and this moves that the opposite direction. So I'm going to be looking for help. So anyway, thank you, and thank you for presenting.
Thank you, Senator Gazelka. Senator Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Cummings, you mentioned just briefly about the construction and demolition waste tax. I understand the 60 cents per ton and the $2 per ton. Most folks in here probably don't have a clue what we're talking about, but I'm in the industry. Can you tell me so I understand that the 60 cents per ton would remain, but the price, the $2 per ton may change. Do you have an idea what that will change to?
Mr. Cummings.
Mr. Chair and Senator Miller, yes, so for construction and demolition waste, industrial waste, and infectious and pathological waste, they're all currently set at 60 cents per yard, every single one of them. But what we're hearing throughout is that 60 cents per yard and $2 per ton are different. And so if you go to some sort of waste facilities in the state, they may only count it by yard, or they may only count it by ton. And we want to make sure that whether they can count by yard or by ton, that they're going to pay about the same amount of tax. And for the industrial waste, they're able to do that. For construction and demolition waste, we also want that to be equivalent. So what was included in House File 848 and what we would have is we would have the same qualifications for construction and demolition waste, that we would be able to look what that equivalency is and set that rate so that it is equivalency to 60 cents per yard as it has been for decades.
So, Mr. Chair, Mr. Cummings, so we don't know what that tax per ton would be at this point. They would take a look at it and determine that at a later time.
Mr. Chair,
Cummings.
it would be set every year. It would be slightly higher than $2 per ton.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Cummings. Okay, we'll take one more question from our members, and then we'll move on. Senator Senjum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair and members, and Mr. Cummings or Commissioner, I just want to, and not in deep depth, but this thing about the dividend received deduction for subpart F income, and is this to say basically that as corporations would repatriate money, bring it into the United States, bring it in Minnesota, and want to use it, for instance, for R&D, IBM in Rochester being kind of one example that probably uses this tool. Does this make it even less attractive to do that in Minnesota, and that money then goes to other states?
Mr. Chairman and Senator Senjum, I've asked John O'Mahony, one of our attorneys at the department, to join us to answer your question.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is John O'Mahony. I'm an attorney for the Minnesota Department of Revenue. Mr. Chair, Senator Senjum, I think that the answer to your question is no. The way that Subpart F income works inside the federal tax code is that it creates an entity-level tax for shareholders of controlled foreign corporations. Now, those same domestic shareholders are entitled to a credit when they actually do repatriate income that was already subject to the Subpart F taxation regime. So it would be no less attractive an idea for those domestic shareholders to repatriate that income once the Subpart F tax had already been paid.
Senator Senjum, did you get that?
Mr. Chair, don't ask me to explain it in great detail. This is an offline discussion.
Thank you, Ms. Mahoney. Okay, thank you, members. Beg your indulgence. We'll move forward. A reminder to our qualified and expert testifiers that we now have about 2 minutes per testimony, if you could. So first up is Beth Cadoon and Jill Larson, and on deck would be Mr. Apitz and Mr. Carnival. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Beth Cadoon. I represent the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, an organization of 2,300 businesses across the state of Minnesota. I'm here to express our strong concern over the overall policy choices made in this budget, as well as to state our strong opposition to the property or the business tax increases that are contained here. We're concerned over the overall policy where you're looking at the $1.4 billion surplus, and the great majority, over 90%, is on new spending, growing the state general fund by about 10%, and very little on net tax decreases that was mentioned by Majority Leader Gazelka. And within those net tax decreases, we actually have business tax increases of about over $100 million when you include the property tax increases as well. The governor's bill does seem to recognize that taxes can impact investment decisions, as he has some targeted tax relief to certain specific businesses. We would recommend a better policy is to see how we can improve the overall business tax climate for all our businesses in the state to make sure we're best positioned to really encourage investment, innovation, and entrepreneurship in the state. Some of the specific items that I wanted to mention are provisions that are impacting current court cases, like the financial institution provision that does impact a current tax court case that is pending. Also, there's a provision overturning court cases such as the sales tax on labor issues as well, which is also a business-to-business tax. I believe Jill Larson will mention more information on that. We're also concerned over the property tax change that's in the bill on railroad properties. The Federal 4R Act really does determine and how, what can be done at a state level. I think this is recognized in the bill that we might be pushing that. There's a severability clause that's found on line 98.1, which would kind of recognize that the state might not have the authority to do this. In that property tax article, we're actually increasing the statewide business tax. And if this is not found to be meeting the federal law, that tax increase appears like it will likely remain. Obviously, then increasing taxes in all businesses across the state, where, as I've mentioned before, we are amongst the highest in the nation on business property taxes. We're concerned over there's some retroactive date increases as well on tax increases. And then there's many corporate tax provisions that we're concerned about that Jill Larson will mention more. And I just say we have the same comments as she'll mention. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kadoun. Ms. Larson, welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. My name is Jill Larson. I'm with the Minnesota Business Partnership. Thanks for the opportunity today to provide some preliminary comments on this proposal. As you know, the bill was just introduced a couple of days ago, and there are some brand new provisions in the corporate tax area that we are still vetting with our members and gathering feedback. So today I'm just going to mention a couple of concerns, and again, in the interest of time, I'll try to be brief. One in the corporate tax article has to do with the so-called economic substance provision. We are opposed to this provision. We have been opposed to this provision in the past. We believe it gives the Department of Revenue's auditors way too much broad discretion to increase an employer's tax liability by disallowing transactions that actually follow the law, but an auditor might see it differently. We think that the legislature should make the laws and the policy and not auditors at the Department of Revenue. This provision, if it were passed, would create enormous uncertainty for taxpayers who really won't know how the department might apply this language on any given tax return. So we would urge your opposition to that proposal. Another concern we have is the proposal to repeal the dividend received deduction for certain income. This was discussed earlier. We're really still in the process of determining the impact of this provision on our Minnesota-based businesses, but we are concerned that it's a $66 million tax increase, and it could negatively impact Minnesota-based companies that are exporting their products around the world. Most states allow a deduction for this type of income, and we are very concerned that this would make Minnesota less competitive. Now I want to move to the sales tax area. The provision that imposes a sales tax on the sale of consulting services around the implementation of computer software is very concerning to us. This is not a mere clarification of the sales tax law. This is a big, huge business-to-business tax increase. These are large projects, and this would be a significant sales tax increase on business-to-business transactions. As Beth mentioned, it overturns a 2013 Minnesota tax court case. We had this discussion, as many of you recall, in 2013 of whether or not we should tax business-to-business services. And as many of you know, Most of those provisions were not enacted into law. Some of them were, and the legislature came back and repealed those in 2014. So we hope that we don't go down that road again this year. Finally, we would be one of very few states to impose this kind of a tax on this type of service. Massachusetts enacted this type of tax a few years ago, and they repealed it just a few weeks later. So we would urge your opposition to that. And finally, the taxation of digital products. I think that deserves some more review and discussion. It looks to me like a substantial expansion of the sales tax to additional business products such as legal documents, blueprints, and so we do want to share a concern with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. Ms. Kadoun. Next up, Mr. A. Pitts, Mr. Carnival, and on deck would be Ms. Madden and Janelle Ray and Ann Krisnick. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record. We're doing pretty good. We were a little over there, but I'm sorry. I don't want to be rude, but go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is John Appitz. I'm with the law firm of Messerly and Kramer, and I'm here, I'll try to keep it to 2 minutes. I'm here testifying on behalf of the 20 railroads operating in the state of Minnesota in opposition to specifically Article 5 of this bill. It's titled Railroad Recodification, and if enacted, this bill would establish a new property tax valuation regime and attempt to tax the personal property of railroads operating here. Mr. Chairman, taxing the personal property of railroads operating in Minnesota is a clear violation of federal law. In addition, the valuation method being proposed in this bill would set Minnesota apart from other states in how it determines railroad property values. In general, Minnesota taxes the real estate of businesses operating here. It does not tax the personal property of those businesses. Taxing railroad property, in other words, locomotives, bridges, cars, other sorts of equipment, and continuing to exempt the personal property of most other businesses would clearly violate Section 306 of the Railroad Revitalization and Regulatory Reform Act of 1976. It's better known as the 4R Act. I've got copies of my statement and some material for the delight of the tax attorneys here, which references the laws that the cases that I'm talking about. Section 306 of the 4R Act prohibits discriminatory taxation of railroads. In a nutshell, under these federal provisions, state property tax programs cannot treat railroads any worse than any other commercial industrial property taxpayers in the state. So in states where personal property tax is imposed on businesses, railroads are subject to those same taxes, such as in Wisconsin and about 23 other states. But where a personal property tax is not imposed on other businesses, such as Minnesota, an attempt to tax railroad personal property would clearly violate federal law. The fact that Minnesota cannot tax railroad personal property was addressed in past litigation. I'll reference very quickly the 1983 case of Burlington Northern Railroad Company versus James. The Commissioner of Revenue at that time, Federal District Court Judge Noah Rosenbaum, found that there is no doubt that Section 306 of the 4R Act requires BN's personal property be exempt from taxation, given Minnesota's exemption for other commercial industrial taxpayers' personal property. Yeah. Oddly, when the same tax was imposed 2 years ago, or was proposed 2 years ago, the department was unable to explain how this would not violate federal law. It also attempts to put into place a valuation rules that are inconsistent with what is done in other states. That's unique and somewhat odd. It would, in fact, codify into statute a number of unusual appraisal methodologies and use them only for railroad property valuation. No other state does this. Finally, so those are the regulatory and the legal aspects of this. And before I go beyond my expertise, and trust me, we're right out there at the edge, I'd just like to go to the practical aspect of this. Allow me just another minute to go to this, or half a minute actually. Railroads currently pay about $52.6 million in property taxes every year. The Department of Revenue estimates that railroads, in the materials you received today, would pay an additional $60 million in property taxes if a personal property tax were imposed. $60 million on a single industry, a shift in property taxes onto the railroads. I don't need to mention the $1.4 billion surplus that was forecast in November, but I do need to mention the $700 million that railroads put into improving and maintaining their property and their operations over the last 3 years. Every dollar that goes to the state is a dollar that potentially could go into improving and keeping that those rail operations safe. I'd be happy to elaborate further on our concerns,
No,
but
Mr. A. Pitts.
I'd
We
simply
love
ask
all of you, but,
I'd simply ask you not to adopt this
Yeah,
provision.
so,
Thank you,
thank you,
Mr.
Mr. A. Pitts. Mr. Carnival,
Thank you,
state
Mr.
your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
A little
Doug-
bit briefer than that one.
I'll catch up here, don't worry. Mr. Chair, Doug Carnival, representing the National Waste and Recycling Association. We're here to support the provision in the bill dealing with compressed natural gas tax rates that would make compressed natural gas being used in garbage trucks equivalent to the tax rate on the traditional fuels. We also do not have any problems with the provision that Senator Miller mentioned regarding construction debris, and we're comfortable with that. That concludes my remarks. Do I get points for that, Mr. Chair?
Oh, you do.
Thank you.
Okay, Ann Krisnick, Nan Madden, and Renell Ray. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. And Mr. Chair, I do have a handout for the committee, if that would be all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Two different ones, thank you. My name is Nan Madden. I'm director of the Minnesota Budget Project. The Minnesota Budget Project is an initiative of the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits that identifies and promotes public policies to expand opportunity and economic security to all Minnesotans. We appreciate that Governor Dayton's tax proposal is focused on Minnesotans working their way into the middle class, and it does that through expanding the working family credit and the child independent care credit. The working family credit is Minnesota's version of the federal earned income tax credit, which has documented success in supporting work and improving the health and educational success of children. The credit can only be claimed by households with earnings from work, and it offsets a portion of the significant state and local taxes these Minnesotans pay. The working family credit effectively reaches those communities where good-paying jobs are harder to find, including in Greater Minnesota and in our communities of color. In fact, in Greater Minnesota, nearly 14% of all tax filing households receive the working family credit, and the handouts that are going around provides information on the importance of the working family credit in every county of the state. We appreciate Governor Dayton's commitment to this issue, and I also want to thank Senator Rest, Senator Dietzick, and Senator Senjum, who were authors of this proposal last year. This is a Senate provision that was included in the 2016 tax bill. Another critical issue for working families is the high cost of child care. When families have affordable child care, parents can go to work and support their families while their children are in stable, nurturing environments, and businesses can find the reliable employees that they need. We thank Governor Dayton for proposing to update the Child and Dependent Care Tax Credit to reflect today's costs of child care and for making more families eligible for the credit so they can afford the child care that meets their family's needs. With today's tightening labor market and a coming labor shortage, the state's economic future depends on every Minnesotan being able to succeed in the workplace, and these two credits can help us meet that goal. Finally, I'd just like to briefly mention another tax provision that's in another part of the governor's budget. We do support the governor's provision to maintain the provider tax. The provider tax is a critical funding source for affordable health care in Minnesota, and the governor's proposal would create some stability and maintain state flexibility to respond to uncertain and changing health insurance landscape. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Madden. I just want to forget to mention, next up will be Grace Kelleher, Joe Pickett, Dr. Fred Nolan, Brad Lundell, and Scott Kronquist. You'll be on deck. Okay, thank you. Please state your name for the record.
I'm Ann Krisnick. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I'm the Executive Director of the Joint Religious Legislative Coalition. We're made up of the Minnesota Council of Churches, the Minnesota Catholic Conference, the Jewish Community Relations Council, and the Islamic Center of Minnesota. We represent over 3/4 of the faith communities in Minnesota. And in our churches and places of worship across the state, our members constantly report the struggles they see working families have, difficulty paying the rent, buying gas, ability to afford healthy food for their families, to pay for diapers. So we're here today in support of the Working Family Credit. As you know, this is a credit for low and moderate income Minnesotans who are working, and it's a proven asset building tool. It's used by families to finally have enough money to pay for those needed repairs on a car, or to have a down payment for an apartment in a better neighborhood, to pay bills that they've been juggling, to buy coats and shoes for their children. The Working Family Credit promotes work. We know that it is a wonderful asset-building tool for those Minnesotans. Most of those dollars are spent in the communities where the people live. We really encourage you to expand the credit. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Krisnick. Ms. Ray?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Renal Ray. I represent the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits. MCN is a statewide organization of over 2,100 nonprofit members that works to inform, promote, connect, and strengthen both individual nonprofits and the nonprofit sector. MCN supports the expansion of sales tax exemption to all 501c3 organizations, and this provision was initially included as a bipartisan authored bill in 2015 and was included in that year's tax bill also. Thank you, Senators Rust and Senator Senjum, for your previous support of the sales tax exemption expansion, and thanks to the Department of Revenue and the Governor for their inclusion of this provision. Currently, many nonprofits that make mission-related purchases are eligible for sales tax exemption on those items. However, some are not. The rules around the qualifications are unclear to nonprofit organizations and is inconsistent across types of 501c3 federally recognized organizations. This proposal would expand sales tax exemption to all C3 organizations for purposes used for those exempt purposes, for their mission-related purposes. The Minnesota Council of Nonprofits supports this expansion, for two reasons. First, the proposal simplifies and provides uniformity to a confusing area of law. By tying sales tax exemption to federal exemption requirements, all public charities would be eligible without a separate and limiting application process. The proposal creates also an administrative simplicity for both nonprofits and the Department of Revenue. And secondly, sales tax exemption expansion to all C3s is sound public policy that is consistent across types of organizations. Making this change will eliminate the desire for organizations that aren't exempt under current law to make individual requests for exemption from the legislature. Rather than providing individual exemptions in response to specific requests, we can provide clear, simplified, and consistent exemption to all charitable nonprofits. At the end of the day, providing equal benefit to all organizations leads to more resources staying in the community and being used for purpose-related missions. Please support this provision, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, I must remind people, we know if we've been around, we know your organization, you can probably forego some of that stuff. Let us know what your support and don't. We're going to run way over, and you're going to lose a lot of members here because they have other places to go. So please be as brief as you can and tighten it up. Thank you very much. Yes, Senator Rest. Yes, I'll take it.
And that is only after testimony from people who oppose the bill of tax. Works really slow.
Okay, we'll work on the process. All right, we'll do, Senator Rest. Thank you. Yeah, welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
I'm Fred Nolan, the Executive Director of the Minnesota Rural Education Association, and I want to start by thanking the Governor for including tax policy that affects school facilities in the tax bill. These do affect schools, kids, and taxpayers. We're talking about the Ag to School 40% tax credit, and while you know that's important, you have a handout where you can actually see where the effect is. This is a map that shows where school districts have high ag value. The dark brown is the districts with 75% or more ag value, and the red is where there was over 50%. If you flip it over, you will actually see the impact of this proposal because it also includes timberland and would affect property taxes paid by timber owners and farmers in 284 school districts. A couple things I'd like to point out is that ag property taxes are different, land values are different than stocks. Stocks go up and down very quickly. In ag land, location makes a huge difference. If you're a farmer, that parcel that's less than a quarter mile away is extremely valuable to you. And so you're going to want that land. And it may come available only once in your lifetime. So there's going to be a stickiness in these ag prices. They're not going to collapse like the 1980s in this, because farmers were smarter this time around and used cash primarily to buy land. So right now, the median sale price is $46.11, which is historically high for an ag land. Little less than the peak of a little over 5,000.
Dr. Nolan, we want to get to the nub of this. We understand we've got 2 months left to go over a lot of these issues, and you can always come to our offices and talk to us. But
sorry, sir.
I don't want to be rude, but there's a lot of people behind you. We get the kind of the gist of it. I just ask you to move on and keep going.
We support the ag to school. We'd like you to look a little longer at the debt service equalization and operating referendum.
Yep, I would agree as well. Thank you, Doctor. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. My name is Grace Kelleher, and I represent the Minnesota School Boards Association. We represent elected school board members from around the state. And Mr. Chairman, I could just say ditto to Fred's testimony, but I just want to give you some insight into election night 2016, because that's where I believe you start to see an impact of this ag credit. And basically, around the state, we had 10 capital bond issues up for election. And we had 5 pass and 5 fail. And the 5 fail were all in rural Minnesota. And I think you just see the unevenness of the tax. So let me give you their names: Kingsland, Leroy Ostrander, Worthington, and they had large margins they lost those elections on, and St. Charles, who had a more respectable loss. But we feel that alone signifies that. I also want to spend 2 seconds on the Minnesota State High School League. This is a program that actually touches kids. They actually get support from the state here that they can see in their own lives. Unfortunately, because of how the tax bill has progressed the last few years, there is zero money in this fund to help with athletic fees for kids around the state. So we support what's in the governor's budget, but I'd really like you to consider putting money in for the kids this year, or even next year would be huge, because it takes a year for that tax to come online. So it's not a lot of money, members, but I guarantee you it does not go to a teacher or a school district, it goes to kids. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Keller. Sir?
My name is Joe Paquette. I'm an owner-operator of Primrose Schools to Child Care Centers. And I am here on behalf of the families that go to my centers and at the request of the Minnesota Child Care Association. We do support the governor's dependent care credit. I can tell you with my own experience with my families in my center, who are pretty much middle-class families, that they will truly benefit from this. Most of my families are paying about 10 to 15% of their household incomes towards child care, and a relief of this type would probably be very meaningful to them. So I'm here as a supporter for that.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Is Mr. Lundell here? Mr. Lundell and Scott Kronquist? Welcome back to the committee.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Brad Lundell with Schools for Equity and Education. I want to thank you for this opportunity to testify today. Very briefly, Schools for Equity and Education strongly supports the debt service portion of the governor's bill. We also support very strongly the ag bond credit. We believe that the tax bill, we're thankful that the governor put this in his tax proposal. We believe that the tax bill is the appropriate place for tax policy as it relates to schools to be discussed. We look forward to working with you throughout the session, working with MREA and AMSD on a larger debt equalization and referendum equalization piece, and you'll certainly hear from us throughout the session. So again, thank you for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Mr. Lundell. Mr. Kronquist?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Scott Kronquist with the Association of Metropolitan School Districts. And just very briefly, we agree with the previous testimony. We strongly support and thank the governor for including debt service equalization. And we hope that the committee, as you move forward, can even enhance on the governor's proposal and also address operating referendum equalization so we can address both education funding equity and taxpayer equity. And then also would just add our support also to the governor's inclusion of restoring that sales tax exemption for the Minnesota State High School League so we can ensure that we continue to make sure that low-income students have access to extracurricular activities. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
Thank you, Mr. Kronquist. Welcome to the committee.
Mr. Chair, members, my name is Gary Carlson, League of Minnesota Cities. Want to speak strongly in support of Article 2, Section 14, the LGA increase. LGA is an important foundation of the state-local partnership, and we think this is a modest but important first step into restoring LGA to where it was in 2002. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Next.
Mr. Chairman,
Welcome to the
members, I'm
committee.
Keith Carlson. I'm Executive Director of the Minnesota Inter-County Association. I do want to thank the administration for including several items from last year's vetoed tax bill that increases property tax aids and credits, including the Indian Child Welfare Act aid, the CPA aid increase, but I will caution those of you who are advocating for Senate File 479 that provides a new formula, that this level of funding is not enough to implement that. 25 counties would receive an aid reduction if you integrate the two bills, and 23 of those are greater Minnesota counties. In terms of riparian aid, frankly, this is really your choice as to whether or not you want to fund it. For those counties that are interested in accepting jurisdiction to enforce the state's buffer law, I'll guarantee you they will not go forward with that without receiving this aid. I will point out, as I think other testifiers are, there's a incongruity between when we have to determine to accept jurisdiction and when this aid goes into effect. We have to determine whether we want to accept jurisdiction by September of next year. This aid doesn't become payable under this bill until July of 2018. I'll just finally mention, while we welcome essentially what was Article 2 from last year's tax bill, inclusion in here, Article 1 is missing. These have a number of property tax administrative changes that includes the date for certifying special district levies. We want to make that the same as cities, counties, and school districts for simplicity. It includes aid to the Mille Lacs area for property tax abatements to offset the effects of the changes in the walleye limits in that area. It also contains an exemption or a repeal of the exemption for ag containment facilities, which has been particularly onerous in its implementation under current Department of Revenue guidance. There's several other provisions that I won't take the time to mention, but we would certainly recommend that those be included in any subsequent omnibus bill.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Mr. Hilgert.
Mr. Chair, members, thank you very much. My name is Matt Hilgart. I represent the Association of Minnesota Counties. We represent all 87 counties. I would echo Mr. Carlson's points on the Indian Child Welfare Act aid in this bill. We very much appreciate the governor putting this in there. Counties disproportionately share the burden of child protection in the state of Minnesota. That is not the case for other counties or other states. Secondly, to county program aid, as Mr. Carlson said, I will leave members with these sheets, these handouts, with a map showing that unless we actually address the formula, you have a significant portion of this state that have fallen off their aid. And while we really appreciate the governor always acknowledging the fact that county program aid has a place in mandate and property tax relief, we would like to work with the Senate and the governor on this very important formula proposal. Thirdly, as Mr. Carlson stated, there is a lapse in the buffer aid. We agree with the governor that local governments should take on jurisdiction of this, but the aid is very dependent on having the aid to hire folks to carry out the implementation of the buffer law. And right now, we have that November 1st implementation, but then that July 1st of the following year aid. So we'd like to see those two dates coincide. Lastly, the Association of Minnesota Counties has worked very closely with the Department of Revenue on a couple provisions, assessor accreditation issues, and utility refund processing, or basically utility refund orders to local jurisdictions. We'd love to continue working with them and hope that those provisions are included in a future bill or technical bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hilgart. Mr. Rice?
Thank you,
welcome to
Mr.
the
Chairman.
committee.
Brian Rice, I'm an attorney from Minneapolis. I'm here representing AFSCME Council 5, a union of 43,000 Minnesotans who work for state and local government. We want to join with our city and county colleagues and recommend the Tax Committee support the governor on his local government aid and county program aid, as well as his other county aid programs. The state's just an incredibly important partner to local government. These aid formulas haven't been increased for a while now, and your help in that area would really be appreciated. And I guess I'd just end by saying that, as the majority leader said, we start with a $1.4 billion surplus, and as you start your budgeting process, that's a much better position to start from than a deficit. So we ask you to be mindful of structural balances going forward, and thank you for the opportunity to address the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Patricia Nauman, Bradley Peterson. Oh, you're there, Bradley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. My name is Bradley Peterson. I'm an attorney with Flaherty and Hood here today on behalf of the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. We want to thank the governor for his commitment to the local government aid program and its mission to help communities across the state provide needed services for businesses and residents while restraining property taxes. The governor's proposal of $20 million is a first step in that. Our goal as an organization continues to be to get back to the 2002 level, which would necessitate an increase of $45.5 million. And there is a legislation that Senator Weber is carrying and many members of this committee are co-authors on that would get us back to that. And so while the governor's proposal is the first word in the discussion, it is certainly by no means the last word, and we look forward to working with you to get closer to our ultimate goal. From a larger perspective, we've had 2 years without a tax bill. That is virtually unprecedented. 3 years without a tax bill would be unbelievable, and so we urge you to work diligently, responsibly, realistically with the governor and the House to get a tax bill this year, and then the session can truly be considered a success. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. We all welcome the advice. Thank you. Ms. Nauman?
Mr. Chair and members, thank you very much. My name is Patricia Nauman. I'm the Executive Director of Metro Cities, which is an organization representing cities in the 7-county metropolitan area. Metro Cities does support increasing local government aid and appreciates the $20 million appropriation for LGA in Senate File 726. This increase is consistent with Metro Cities' support for a strong state and local partnership. Increases to local government aid also help to ensure that the program can continue to meet cities' needs and that we can move toward a more geographically equitable distribution of aid as was intended under the 2013 reforms to the local government aid program. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And
thank you, Ms. Nauman. Next up is Ron Harnack, Tom Peterson, and I can't get that, Cole. Rep Trick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Ron Harnack with the Red River Watershed
Welcome.
Management Board. Appreciate the opportunity to say a few words regarding the governor's proposed tax bill. We are strongly supportive of any kind of appropriations that will help landowners in being able to put their buffers in. And I believe that this bill provides for additional tax credit for individual landowners who participate in it. It applies primarily to public waters, does not apply to public drainage ditch buffers, and we think it would be appropriate to apply that to both rather than just the one. Secondly, we really appreciate the governor's initiative to provide for local government aid for buffer implementation. We went through a significant amount of controversy last year in getting this buffers issue accomplished and reaching agreement between the governor's office, the Senate, the House, ag groups, local governments, and so forth. We feel there is one significant shortcoming, is that there is no aid for buffers for FY18 or aids payable in 17. And we believe we need to continue to work to find a way to provide for that. because landowners should not be stuck with having to come to the state with enforcement, where fines is the only alternative in order to deal with it. They should be working with their local units of government, their counties and watershed districts to find a way to address proper implementation of the buffer program. We think that is the most reasonable and practical approach, and we ask your serious consideration of providing for additional funding for that aspect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Mr. Chairman, members, my name is Tom Peterson. I represent the Minnesota Farmers Union. And 3 points in the governor's tax bill that we support that I want to hit. In Article 2, Section 1, the buffer compensation. This is a new idea that was not in the tax bill that from last year. But it is a top priority for Farmers Union for farmers to be compensated for the buffers. So we appreciate the governor putting that forward. Also in Article 2 in Section 4, the ag bond credit, I think you're all very familiar with that. We strongly support the 40%. It's something we've worked on for many, many years here. Another referendum failed yesterday, McRae, by 50 votes, 1,100 to 1,000. So a switch of 50 votes. And so you can see the communities are really split on those referendums, and passing this would really help move that along. And finally, also as Mr. Harnack just mentioned, we also support Section 16 of getting the local compensation for the buffer program. Having the compensation go to the local units of government. If there's going to be buffer enforcement, we want it to come at the local level, not from the state. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Chair and Committee. I'm Cole Ruprecht with Minnesota Farm Bureau. I'll just keep this brief and echo what Tom had said in the support of those 3 provisions in regards to agriculture that are in the governor's proposal, especially the 40% credit on ag property taxes as it relates to school debt bonds. So, thank you,
sir. Thank you very much. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, I'm Katie Knutson, the Government Relations Manager for the City of St. Paul, the future home of the Minnesota United FC Minnesota professional soccer team. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As many of you know, last year we were able to secure bipartisan support for the property tax exemption for the professional soccer stadium. Thank you to those on this committee who were instrumental in that effort. Thank you to the governor for the inclusion in this year's bill. The City of St. Paul supports the property tax exemption for the stadium contained in Senate File 726, and we look forward to working with the committee on this important project again this year. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Joel Carlson. I own a legal research and government affairs business here in St. Paul, and I represent the newest team in Major League Soccer, Minnesota United. We appreciate the support of this committee in the past. Look forward to having that again. And just to give you an idea of the impact of soccer in Minnesota, I have the pleasure of sitting on the Amateur Sports Commission with Senator Senjum. And we have over 75,000 kids playing soccer in Minnesota. There are over 130 local soccer associations. The economic impact alone from our major tournament at the Amateur Sports Commission is over $32 million. There is a huge impact from Major League Soccer as it relates to game day activity, hundreds of jobs, ticket revenue, sales tax, and this is a great opportunity for Minnesota, and we're very excited. And our season opener is March 12th, and we look forward to having a record turnout on that date. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Thank you. Next up are Molly Moylanen, Dan Quinlan, and Chris Conry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Molly Moylanen, and I work for Cleary, Minnesota, an organization dedicated to reducing tobacco's harm. I also co-chair Minnesotans for a Smoke-Free Generation. I'm here to express the coalition's support for the governor's proposal related to tobacco taxation enforcement. Strong public policies are the best way to prevent youth smoking, to motivate adult smokers to quit, and to reduce healthcare costs. Notably, keeping tobacco prices high is one of the most important tools for reducing smoking, and Minnesota research has shown this definitively. Enforcement is a critical part of the equation. Improving enforcement will improve the overall impact of the policy. When it comes to reducing tobacco's harm and preventing youth smoking in Minnesota, we've been a national leader. Once again, the proposals included in the governor's recommendation will serve as a model for other states. Smoking is down in Minnesota because of our comprehensive approach, and these new proposals will ensure that we're on the right track and keep us on the right track. Thank you to the governor. We applaud the commissioner and the governor for these proposals, and we urge you to support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record.
Mr. Chair, my name is Dan Quillen. I co-chair the Isaiah Health Equity Team. Isaiah is an organization of 188 churches across Minnesota. Today we are testifying in support of that portion of the governor's budget that removes the scheduled repeal of the 2% health care provider tax. To not do so, we believe, puts low-income, poor, and working people at risk relative to receiving decent health care at affordable prices. The provider tax in Minnesota Care, which it supports, was implemented in a bipartisan manner. It is the bedrock that supports quality health services for Minnesota's low-income citizens. It is the portion of the health care services in Minnesota that is not broken. In fact, the governor's Minnesota Care Extension Plan this year offers an opportunity to extend this cost-effective and affordable health care coverage throughout the state. Members of the legislature have had to struggle with the challenge of providing assistance to those using the Minnesota Health Exchange, whose income exceeds 400% of the federal poverty level. Fortunately, because of the provider tax and the medical assistance in Minnesota Care it supports, this problem has not extended to those of low income
Mr.
and working
Quinlan,
poor.
we're going to have to leave the room shortly, so
Okay.
if I may, so you're in support of the governor's provision for keeping the provider tax, correct?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
All right, thank you very much. Don't mean to be rude, but next testifier, Chris Conry.
Hi, Chairman Chamberlain, members of the committee.
I'm sorry, one moment here.
Oh, sure.
And Frank Ongaro, you're next. So I'm sorry, sir, please continue.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Chris Conry. I'm here today representing Take Action Minnesota. I'll give you just the bullet points now and send the rest in writing. I'm here today because we support the governor's proposals to close the 8 different corporate tax loopholes. In particular, wanted to lift up the economic substance test as one key piece of direction you can give the Department of Revenue on sorting through complex transactions. And the second, the disallowance of the dividend received deduction for subpart F income is a good targeted approach to save money, level the playing field, and make the tax code more fair. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Frank Ongaro. I'm the Executive Director of Mining Minnesota, representing the non-ferrous copper nickel mining industry in the state of Minnesota. I'm here today to speak specifically in opposition to Article 6, Section 19, the gross proceeds tax on mining, going from a net proceeds tax of 2% to a gross proceeds tax on 2% for an industry that is still in development and has not produced a product, does nothing but chase investment away from the state of Minnesota. We have an opportunity to double the size of the existing mining industry with a world-class deposit of copper, nickel, and precious metals. The net proceeds tax has been looked at over the years. As recently as, I believe, 2011 or 12, a discussion took place about repealing various aspects of limits on what could be allowed as deductions toward the net proceeds tax to put it on par essentially with the corporate franchise tax. In addition, the industry would pay an occupation tax to the state of Minnesota. I'm not sure we agree with the assumptions that revenue has as well, but this, as it looks, would easily quadruple the existing tax, and that will do nothing but chase investment from the state of Minnesota. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ongaro. Well, that concludes the testimony, which isn't bad. Just a final word is that to the commissioner and to the DOR and the governor, we welcome many of the goals in there are laudable and gives us much to work with as we go through the next couple of months. So that said, it's short on relief, and you are proposing many tax increases. But that being said, there's things to work with. We appreciate some of the positions and proposals and the opportunities as we go forward. We hope to create a system that's more fair, simpler, predictable, and sustainable. and I'm looking forward to the next couple months. So with that, Senate File 726, as amended, will be laid over for possible inclusion. Thank you very much. And members, tomorrow we have the R&D review from the legislative auditor, and we will have a couple of pieces of legislation to discuss as well. So thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. We're adjourned.